we have an Indonesian couple, Agus and Elsa, with one child, Ansel. So Agus and Elsa are intending to migrate to Europe. So now I want to hand over to Dominic and basically just for a start give us some a rundown on the popular European programs, the process to apply, and the due diligence process.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, so maybe, so what we're talking about here, of course, is investment migration. So we're getting a lot of interest out of Indonesia, particularly looking at you know, what a lot of high net worth individuals there consider to be their plan B, or sort of a more of an insurance policy, you know, against anything, against economic uncertainty, political uncertainty. You know, very few of our clients actually use these investment migration programs and leave Indonesia, but certainly they're using them for a myriad of other reasons around, you know, the children's education. Of course, now with COVID-19, the ability to get access to better healthcare systems, and other things like that. So Europe is very often a focus for them. The great thing about Europe, if you just, I think, pop over to the next slide, the great thing about Europe is that it has a mix of both citizenship by investment and residence by investment. So these are, as you can see on this slide here, there's a lot of countries around the world that now have these investment migration programs. So probably over 100 countries now have some form of legislation or regulation in place, but only really these 30 odd here have very active and relevant and attractive programs that are very much taken advantage of by financially independent people. So Europe is often the focus, particularly in a place like Indonesia. The US, of course, is also very popular, and I think a lot of wealthy families educate their children in the US. We speak to a lot of clients that like to do this through an investment migration program and not necessarily just with a student visa, because it's actually more beneficial. In Europe, as I said, that this is the countries we see here is a bit of a mix. So Austria, Cyprus, and Malta, which you can see on the screen. I would say those would be sort of the top shelf options. These, you know, these three countries, it's possible through a significant investment or sometimes contribution to the country to acquire citizenship in those countries. So Austria, Cyprus, and Malta, particularly attractive because they are all members of the European Union. So you don't have to go to, you know, you don't have to go and live in the country. You don't have to learn the local language. As long as you have the financial capacity and, you know, coming to the due diligence and AML checks. Of course, this is only for people, you know, that can pass the very thorough vetting and due diligence processes that these governments perform. But with a multi-Cypriot or Austrian citizenship, you basically have access to the whole of Europe. So you are then a European citizen. You have settlement freedom across Europe. Your kids can go and study for free in Sweden. They can go and get work experience in Germany without ever having to worry about a visa. So the citizenship is very attractive. Of course, as an Indonesian national, you're not allowed dual citizenship. So this is a consideration that the family will have to be comfortable with, that if they acquire an alternative citizenship, they would have to, you know, surrender or renounce the Indonesian citizenship. So that's arguably an easier decision for someone that's already maybe a permanent resident in Singapore and has sort of handed over the business in Indonesia to the next generation. Other families we work with, only certain individuals within the family would look to take the citizenship. But the nice thing, as I said, about Europe, and which is very popular in Indonesia, is the residence by investment program. So there, at the front end, you've got Portugal, which has a very attractive golden residence permit program. Greece has a similar program, and these are typically real estate investments anywhere from 250 to 500,000 euros. you're getting the Plan B, you're getting residents in these countries. Both have reacted incredibly well in terms of their sort of pandemic response now and how their healthcare systems have coped. And critical for a lot of our clients is because countries like Portugal and Greece are in the Schengen zone, just by acquiring real estate and getting a resident permit for that country, you would never have to worry about a Schengen visa again. So you're getting actual, global mobility and access to the European Schengen zone just by having that residence permit. So I'd say those are probably the most popular in terms of Europe. Of course, we do have lots of clients as well from Indonesia that are looking at places like Australia and New Zealand, also have interesting investor visa categories, as well as the UK. So that would probably be in a nutshell there. If you just go back to the other slide, just so I'm making sure I'm hitting all the points. In terms of the application process, obviously, we would make it as sort of straightforward and easy for the client as possible. So, as I said, the due diligence is very important. There's a sort of onboarding process, and then the governments would certainly do their own enhanced due diligence on these individuals. On the investment amounts, as I said, on the residence by investment, Greece, 250,000 euros into real estate, which of course you can rent out, so that's interesting. Portugal, usually about 350 to 500,000 euros. And then if you look at the sort of Malta, Cyprus, Austria categories, because those are citizenship and settlement freedom throughout Europe, they do demand a higher capital outlay. So Malta's about €1 million, Cyprus probably all in about 2.4 million euro, and they will range anywhere from 3 to 8 million euro, depending on whether the client wants to go the donation route, which is available, or an investment into a company. Finally, the AML due diligence, as I said, these programs are quite strict on this now. Well, have always been very strict, but tightened it even more now in terms of really understanding the client's source of funds. They want to know, if you look at Malta, you've got to disclose what is your net worth, where are those assets sitting, how did you acquire the funds to acquire those assets, and of course the due diligence procedure is now very much part of the process, largely done by the government that they're applying to.
Quick question, Dominic. A ballpark figure, how long does it take to, suppose you plan to be out of Indonesia in, let's say, the next so many years. You plan for what? Is it a 1 or 2 year process to?
Yeah, so it would depend on the country. In Greece, you can get permanent residence. Greece, if we start today, probably the whole process probably takes no more than 3 or 4 months. Malta would be a longer process, probably about 1.5 years from start to finish. But although it's a longer process, you get the residence of Malta within probably the first sort of 1 to 2 months. And so you could already move to Malta. And then it's just a case of waiting for the government to finish their citizenship processing. So all in all, the Malta citizenship and passport is about 1.5 years, but you do get the residence very early on. Portugal probably takes about 5 to 6 months. Cyprus now probably 8 to 10 months. So it's usually a sort of roughly a 6 to 12 month horizon that the family can plan for.
That seems to be fairly quick.